Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. This is the broadcast for August the 13th in the year of our Lord 2025. This is Hour 202, promoting God, family, country, protecting life, liberty, and property, and doing so on your radio. I've got Lance Miliaccio with me. The Big Mig is his talk show. He's the host of the Big Mig podcast, powered by Truth, thebigmig.com. They're the tip of the spear when it comes to bringing the receipts and more. Also, check out their other website, thebigmiggold.com. You can check that out and see what's going on over there. Lance, there's so much to cover in the news. I want to talk about Trump delays new tariffs on Chinese goods for 3 months. Critics like me are slamming Congress for inaction during break. These clowns are literally on a break. And they're supposed to be managing tariffs. That's their constitutional obligation. Trump's doing the job as they're derelict in their duty. Your thoughts?
You know, I've never been a big fan of the way Congress operates. You know, they seem to get a tremendous amount of time off. Now, I know originally the founders and framers, being a congressional member was only supposed to be a part-time job. That has turned out to not be the case. These are career politicians. I don't know. I don't feel like their work ethic is very good. And I
agree, but they're still responsible constitutionally for tariffs, though, and Trump's basically having to take action in the vacuum of their dereliction of duty, really.
And I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot on the line here. $37 trillion in debt. We just hit it yesterday. I don't know how you can take off. You know, I've always thought if you can't balance the budget and you can't fix the $37 trillion in debt, your salary should be put on hold as a congressional member. I think you shouldn't be allowed to run. You shouldn't be able to be reelected if you can't balance the budget while you're in Congress. You know, these people aren't business people, the majority of them. You know, that most of them have been in there. You get people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi, even Dianne Feinstein, who's no longer with us, thankfully. You know, they don't look at it like that. They don't think that it's necessary to run this country efficiently. And as we said in the first hour of the show, they spend money like a kid with a credit card. They don't think there's any accountability or consequences for their actions, and they just waste our money. USAID exposed more fraud, theft, and stupidity than we could have ever imagined. Don't you think, Sam?
There's no doubt about that. And I think the answer to that is an educated, well-aware, involved American people. And I think so far the American people have felt so disenfranchised. I mean, for example, I can't even get a hold of my congressman, much less convince him to do anything I want him to do. And that relates to, you know, it used to be, hey, there shouldn't be, or there needs to be representation one out of 35,000. So 35,000 people would have a congressman. Now, I mean, in my state, for example, there's like 4 congressmen. There's like 4 million people. It's like 1 congressman to 1 million people, Lance, to make the point.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I look at this, you know, they made such a bunch of hoopla about the redistricting, you know, and it looks to me like the map is just so skewed when you look at that. And is it really a representation of government for the people, by the people? I have to say, no, it's not.
It's not. It's getting worse rapidly. And I don't mean to be negative about that. But, you know, Trump's trying to rein in this stuff. He's trying to do all these things. And I really appreciate a lot of his intentions because I think they're good. The problem that I have is it continues to violate the checks and balances. We continue to run things by fiat when it comes to money, by executive order, like a monarch or a king instead of a check and balance constitutional republic. So one of the latest headlines that I find really fascinating is this. Listen carefully to this and tell me what you think. The Pentagon is reportedly setting up a, quote, domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force consisting of at least 600 National Guard troops who could deploy to American cities within an hour if there was rioting or any other issues. These are according to a document based on a document seen by the Washington Post. This task force, they say, responding to, quote, events of civil unrest, will be split into 2 groups of 300. One will be in Arizona. One will be in Alabama, covering issues that break out east or west of the Mississippi, respectively. President Trump, quote, emphasizing law and order, deploys the National Guard to D.C., as you know. And the initiative, they say, might be funded as early as fiscal year 2027. But listen, they say with a cost of reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars. A defense official refrained from discussing the specific of these plans with the media. So, on one hand, you say, hey, I support the law and order president. On the other hand, you're getting this unprecedented group now that could be deployed in a riot scenario. Really what you're talking about is the commandeering of law enforcement to be forced on the national level. And these rapid response groups with the shenanigans of the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, and everything else. I hate to be so difficult about this, and I get that there's civil unrest all across America, and we need law and order. At the same time, who would this group be accountable to? Where in the check and balances of America does this fall? It's disaster, Lance.
Well, there's no doubt that when you look at the different agencies and departments of the federal government, I don't think any of us have a warm and fuzzy. All of us are concerned about where is the transparency? Where's the accountability and consequences? I mean, we're hearing horrendous stories about the Russian collusion hoax and how they weaponized government agencies and mainstream media, and they used it against Donald Trump and many other members of his administration, including, General Michael Flynn, Roger Stone. And if they can weaponize it against high-ranking, powerful individuals, where does that leave the American public? Where does that leave Sam Bushman and Lance Miliaccio? I think it leaves us out in the lurch, right? I mean, why wouldn't you be concerned? I mean, you've now had to confirm the last 12 months that the JFK assassination, that the CIA was directly involved in that assassination of a sitting president. So when you start talking about a quick reactionary force, and I'm familiar with that, they use a lot of times contractors are used for that, for quick reactionary forces, because the military can't engage that quickly. So if they need somebody in a foreign country very quickly, they might already have a contract with, say, United Defense or Academy, or XE, one of those kind of organizations that were in existence. That force can be on a plane very rapidly. Of course, they pay for that. It doesn't surprise me that it's expensive. At the end of the day, it seems like this is just more of the same, another big budget item that may not have the oversight that's needed. And I think our guest might be backstage, Sam.
All right, so we're going to take a break here in just a minute, but I want to kind of finish on this topic, then we'll take our guest. I look at this thing, though, and I say, hey, you know what? When we say the initiative might be funded as early as 2027, here's the question. Do they already have the money for this in 25? Or do they have to wait for the money 2 Congresses later? Starting a program like this a year before Trump leaves? I just feel like if you're not very careful, you're going to crank up the Gestapo. You're going to have 300 crack agents east and west of the Mississippi. They're going to, pretty soon it's like, hey, Sam and Lance have a rally promoting, real news programs. They're like, we're going to shut that thing down. Okay, I don't know, man. I'm very concerned. Remember, when Trump's in office, we kind of think, oh, this is great. We need a law and order guy. We need a strong man. But when the shoe's on the other foot, when you say a Barack Obama, now forget Joe Biden because they did a lot of stuff. He was a clown, but he couldn't help it. He was sick and they took advantage of it. It's wrong. It's elderly abuse, in my humble opinion. But Barack Obama, though, is a smooth operator, man. I mean, like or dislike him, he's in my humble opinion, to which I'm entitled, this guy's a communist thug operator. And he basically would use that kind of a task force or that kind of a, what are they calling this thing? The Pentagon is reportedly setting up a, quote, civil disturbance quick reaction force. Okay. I mean, you and I meet and they'll call it a civil disturbance, Lance.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it all comes down to who's making the decision. Is it Shifty Schiff who makes that decision and makes that call, or is it somebody like Tulsi Gabbard or, Kristi Noem, maybe somebody that we have a higher level of trust with? And that's the problem, right? Who holds the reins to these organizations and the power and influence that they can actually wield? And I agree with you.
And who will hold the reins in the future too, right?
Yeah, when Donald Trump's gone, who jumps into that and says, okay, we need a quick reactionary force, Liberty RoundTable Live, take them down. I mean, you know,
I mean, if AOC's in charge,
yeah, AOC would not be great. That would be bad. That would probably be very bad for you and I, Sam.
Anyway,
how do you like bologna sandwiches, Sam? Because they might be serving us a lot of bologna and cheese.
Well, she might pull a Joe Arpaio deal and put us in pink underwear too, Lance.
That's it, exactly. I actually look pretty good in pink. I'm okay. That won't kill me.
All right, I'm staying out of this. Taking a break, ladies and gentlemen.
If I have to be, man. It's my skin tone. I look good in pink.
A well-timed break, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest in seconds. You're listening to the one and only hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, truth-telling Liberty Roundtable Live.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Step into the boots of the American West with Range Magazine, where grit meets grace. This is a front row seat to the stories, struggles, and triumphs of ranchers, farmers, and stewards of the land. From jaw-dropping photography to no-nonsense reporting, Range brings you the untold tales of life on the range. Whether you're a city dweller with a cowboy's heart or living life where the pavement ends, Range speaks to the soul of the West. Subscribe today at rangemagazine.com.
Scott Bradley here. Most Americans are painfully aware that the nation is on the wrong track and in dire straits. Unfortunately, most political pundits only nibble around the edges when they claim to address the issues. Even worse, many of the so-called solutions are simply rewarmed servings of what got us into the mess we currently face. And the politicians think we're so gullible and naive that we'll buy their lies that they have reformed and now understand where they led us astray. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that they simply wish to continue to hold power. The solution to America's challenges is found in returning to the timeless principles found in the United States Constitution. My book and lecture series will reawaken in Americans an understanding and love of the principles which made this nation the freest, most prosperous, happiest, and most respected nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com and order my book and lectures to begin the restoration of this great nation.
Welcome back to Liberty Roundtable Live with your host, Sam Bushman, and along for the ride today, myself, Lance Miliaccio from the Big Mig Show. You know, this show so far, we've covered gold and silver, hard assets, and it's all about your finances today. And we're joined right now with Jonathan Rose, CEO of BlockTrustIRA. He's a leading innovator in cryptocurrency, IRA solutions. He's a former insider with Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley. Jonathan combines Wall Street expertise with a forward-thinking approach to retirement investing. His background as an international registered financial consultant and licensed Series 3 commodities trader handling transactions exceeding $1 billion gives him a rare ability to navigate complex markets while making strategies accessible to everyday investors. And what we're going to be talking about is cryptocurrency. Jonathan's come out with a really innovative product called BlockTrustIRA. And I want to emphasize, this is not an infomercial. You know, I believe that the crypto is going to provide a lot of people generational wealth. And it's a confusing, environment. We have a show called the Crypto Power Hour every Wednesday and Friday at 3 p.m. on Rumble. And we try to do these education pieces. And Jonathan, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today, man. How are you, brother?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be able to talk to you, and excited to come on this platform with you and talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is cryptocurrencies. I know you guys were talking about gold earlier. I also love gold. I'm a believer in gold and I own it myself, but I'm also a believer in cryptocurrency because I know it's the future of money. So very happy to be here to discuss this with you guys.
Before you get started, Lance, I want to quickly help people understand. You know, IRA is a traditional retirement thing like a 401k. I understand the details are different, but just so people understand, it's an investment vehicle. And I want people to understand then what we're talking about is the ability to tie cryptocurrencies with your IRA, just like people are doing with gold, this is a big opening up of investment opportunities. People used to be forced into certain, choices by financial managers, by the stock market, by this and that. What we're really seeing, Jonathan, is the incredible opening up of 401ks and IRAs where people can actually be free to invest as they choose, crypto being one of them. Is that a good start, you think?
Jonathan?
Go ahead, Lance. She'll try to confirm Jonathan's there.
Yeah,
and
I'm
get
not
him back.
sure. We might have lost
do you think that's a good start, Lance, though? I mean, that's really kind of what's happening,
I think it's a really
right?
good start, Sam. Yeah, I think it's a really good start. I think at the end of the day, what I think people have to take advantage of, there's lots of new technologies out there, right? And at the end of the day, it's very confusing. What I think is really amazing, what Jonathan has done is he's teamed up with a company called BlockTrustIRA and Animus Technologies. He's paired those together. And Animus Technologies, for anybody out there that doesn't know, they use AI and quantum computing to trade Bitcoin and Ethereum and soon to trade XRP. What I think, so a lot of people, they look at the crypto markets, and we get this all the time on our show. We cover it on our Global Finance Forum and the Crypto Power Hour over on Rumble. People are confused. It's overwhelming. There's so many different wallets, and they hear about blockchain. They hear about decentralized finance, Sam. I mean, it's a confusing environment because none of us were educated in this terminology prior to the last, 24 or 36 months. Sure, people were out there trading Bitcoin and other platforms, but it really hasn't gone mainstream until this administration kind of started clearing all the regulatory, and now all of a sudden the media, it's kind of like a media darling. Do you agree that it's confusing?
All right. Do we have Jonathan back? All right. We'll try to get him. If we can't get him stable, grab a backup number and put him on a phone line or whatever you got to do there.
Yeah, I sent a number to you guys.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so Lance, I think this is really important for people to understand. There's a lot of terms being thrown around that I think really kind of makes things complicated. This, technology term we're using, it relates to AI. It relates to, digital currencies of some kind. It relates to cryptocurrencies. It relates to IRAs. And, people are really, really, really confused. And I think with
difficult.
Good reason, right?
No, 100%. I think demystifying a complicated world like this that's the first thing, the accessibility, right? Because if you don't understand it, you're not going to touch it.
Jonathan, welcome back.
Hey guys, so sorry about that. Looks like I was having some technical issues, but I've called in now, so yeah, we can pick it back up. So sorry to interrupt you guys. Your show.
And Jonathan, what we were talking about is demystifying, the world of cryptocurrency, and I was talking about how you teamed up with Animus Technologies and you created a simple way to do it. But I think what's important first off is just to explain to people kind of why you went down this road, why you created this product, because you saw a need, and clearly, as busy as you guys are, you were right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, we'll go back a little bit and look at President Trump run to the Oval Office, because one of President Trump's campaign trails was to make America the crypto capital of the world. And since President Trump's got into office, what he's been able to achieve in just like very short number of months, the previous administration couldn't even get anything remotely done in 4 years. So when you're looking at the future of money and we're seeing our current fiat system, which is broken, people are looking for a replacement. And this has been in the works for quite some time, because we look at the US dollar, $37 trillion in debt, and we're just drowning in this debt, and it's a locomotive that's getting ready to derail. So fiat currencies have life cycles. There's been about 227 fiat crashes in our lifetime or in history, and an average lifespan of a fiat currency is 34 years, and the US dollar is currently celebrating its 54th birthday. So if history has a way of repeating itself, then we know that the US dollar isn't going to be around, especially as a global settlement monetary amount of money for different countries. It's not going to be around forever. So as these markets kind of evolve, cryptocurrency has emerged to, people's lips in terms of the future of money. And people are probably thinking, well, what the heck is Bitcoin? What is cryptocurrency? And simply put, I'll talk about Bitcoin a lot because Bitcoin is the digital gold. It's the new gold standard, but it's decentralized finance. So right now, the government has their hands in money. The Federal Reserve have their hands in money. The Federal Reserve and the government aren't linked. They're technically two separate companies. And when you look at cryptocurrency, a lot of this decentralized finance means that there's no meddling in with the big fingers, okay? It's kind of honest money. And when you fast forward to President Trump getting into office and President Trump then making these really groundbreaking new laws to incorporate assets like Bitcoin to the U.S. Treasury. So just like we have gold in the U.S. Treasury, we're now able to put Bitcoin in the U.S. Treasury. So really what's happening is there's mass adoption. And this mass adoption means it's here to stay. They're passing these bills, the Genius Act, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And a lot of these bills, what people need to know about these bills is that it's infrastructure that's being built. It's the foundation, the pillars are being erected, the roof's going on. It's a new arena, and it's here to stay. And when we kind of saw this in the works, this is when we decided to, create BlockTrustIRA, a safe and secure platform for people to purchase cryptocurrencies. But then it went a little bit further because two questions I'd often get, Lance, would be, how do I purchase this safely and securely? And that's why we created a platform for people. And then the second question we'd always get, well, isn't cryptocurrency volatile? And I'd say to them, yes, it's inherently volatile. But we was able to partner with a company called Animus Technologies. And what they provide is really signals to manage this volatility. So imagine if you was laying on the beach somewhere with a lifeguard and he can see the rip current coming, the big waves crashing in. He'll jump up, wave his red flags. Don't go in the water. Don't go in the ocean. It's very risky, high risk. And then you'd wait till the waves subside and then he waves the green flag and you can go back in. This is what our technology does with Animus Technologies. We've taken this groundbreaking AI technology that's only been available to hedge funds, the elite investors out there. We brought it down to the retail level. So investors who want to invest in cryptocurrency, particularly assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, we can manage that risk where volatility, people may have run to the hills. We love the word volatility. Volatility lets us beat the market. It lets us beat the buy and hold strategy. And before I pass it back to you guys, the reason why this is so important is because when you buy cryptocurrency, currently there's only one way to do it. It's a buy and hold strategy. Now that may work well when you're buying an asset like gold, right? You buy gold, you throw it in the safe, and you forget about it. But cryptocurrency is a market that doesn't sleep. There's no opening bell, there's no closing bell. It's not like the stock market. It's traded 24/7, 365. And that's important to know because if you're holding cryptocurrency, let's say that, you're working, you're busy, you're not a trader. It could be 2:00 in the morning. President Trump could sign an executive order. China can invade Taiwan. Something could happen that could impact the market negatively. And you want to make sure that because we have these new age problems right now, we want to have new age tools. These new age tools are going to help us protect ourselves when the market dips. And that's exactly what we do.
Let's talk more about the details, ladies and gentlemen, because I know this sounds like a complicated subject, but here's, in my opinion, the takeaway. Block Trust IRAs are solutions that let you think outside the box when it comes to your investing. It lets you be in charge of your portfolio, not some other clown elsewhere. You can get guidance and support from people like Jonathan, who they've been in the business forever. Okay, Jonathan Rose is CEO of Block Trust IRA, a leader in innovative cryptocurrency solutions. Hang tight, more in seconds. BlockTrustIRA.com. You're listening to Liberty Roundtable Live.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. For President Trump, today's packed schedule includes a stop at the Kennedy Center, where he's planning some kind of announcement.
President Trump avoided the Kennedy Center honors during his first term, in part in protests from artists. In his second term, he has made himself chairman and fired the board of trustees. On Tuesday, Mr. Trump teased a possible name change for the center on Truth Social. He also promised to restore it to its former glory. It is unclear how this year's honors will be chosen, but the president has indicated he wants a more active role. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
Germany's chancellor says European leaders and Ukrainian President Zelensky had a constructive discussion via video link with President Trump earlier today, 2 days ahead of Mr. Trump's planned meeting in Alaska with Russian President Putin. Some of the Europeans argue that Zelensky ought to be included in the Trump-Putin sit-down on Friday.
The president is agreeing to this meeting at the request of President Putin. And the goal of this meeting for the president is to walk away with a better understanding of how we can end this war.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. A Tennessee tragedy in the Chattanooga suburb of East Ridge, where a mother, father, and a child were killed when a tree came crashing down on their car, happened during flooding rains this morning, the heavy rains prompting a flood warning in the area. Amazon expanding same-day delivery of groceries to Prime members, placing an order of more than $25. Currently available in 1,000 cities and towns, that number will grow to 2,300 by year's end. Taking a big bite out of crime, hundreds of National Guardsmen at President Trump's direction have been deployed to the streets of Washington, D.C., and the city's police force has been temporarily federalized. Watching Wall Street, the Dow is up 236 points, the Nasdaq 40 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
A couple years ago, I was in the bathroom at the airport when I dropped my smartphone in the toilet. Not smart. I was multitasking when I should have been focused on the job at hand. Embarrassing, but I'm not alone. According to Google, 7 million other multitaskers accidentally dropped their phones into the bowl last year. A gentle reminder that right now you can get yourself a brand new Samsung Galaxy A36 absolutely free with a $35 plan from Pure Talk. The A36 comes with scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass and a battery that'll last all day, along with unlimited talk, text, and data on America's most dependable 5G network. In other words, it's tough and smart. Something to think about next time you're multitasking in the necessary. Just dial pound 250, say keyword micro to get your free phone today. You can make the switch in just 10 minutes. That's pound 250. Say micro to switch to a no-nonsense smartphone and a company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At CSPOA.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
This is a battle between truth and deceit. A battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Welcome back to Liberty RoundTable Live with your host Sam Bushman and myself, Lance Miliaccio. We're talking crypto, and we are joined by Jonathan Rose, CEO of BlockTrustIRA.com. I believe your solution for easy cryptocurrency investing. Let's talk about this headline, Jonathan. I want to jump right in because I know you have a limited amount of time. Crypto total market cap hits $4.08 trillion. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, it's a market that's just going to keep growing and growing. Hey guys, it's just a market that's going to keep growing and growing. If you just look at Bitcoin alone, it's now the 5th largest asset in the world. A lot of people don't even realize this. It's actually taking over Amazon and Google, and the only asset that's currently bigger than Bitcoin is Nvidia, Microsoft, and then the gold market as a whole. So when you look at these numbers, you have to realize that in 10 years or less, maybe 5 years or less, that the cryptocurrency market is going to be the biggest market globally. And when you're looking at a market that's so big globally, it's almost like data is the new oil, right? Because we live in a data-ridden world, especially when it comes to cryptocurrency. So that's why it's important to understand the trend. And they say the trend is your friend on Wall Street, and this is definitely the case here. And as these trends continue, you have to realize that you have to have these cutting-edge tools to manage these trends. So crypto's here. There's the biggest wealth transfer in history currently underway. People can participate in it, but they want to do it in the right way, not the wrong way. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, a buy and hold strategy in crypto, not saying that's the wrong way to do it, but based on my knowledge and what we've seen, you're going to lose the race doing it that way. It's kind of like the dinosaur approach, and we know what happened to those guys. So the market's growing. It's going to continue to grow, especially under the Trump presidency, where we're seeing full adoption. Banks are getting involved. President Trump is now pushing for employers to offer crypto in their 401ks, which you briefly discussed at the beginning of the show, which is a huge bombshell to hit the market. So the time is now to understand that, you know, the train hasn't necessarily left the station, but now's the time to get educated and be a part of this biggest wealth transfer that's currently underway.
You know, and I think for the audience, just to clarify, what BlockTrustIRA does they've actually teamed up with a company called Animus Technologies, who won in 2023 from Bitcoin Magazine the most effective, and that was on an international scale, most effective Bitcoin AI trading program out there. And they continue to be at the forefront. I don't think anybody's exceeded their returns. And I don't know how much you can discuss about the returns, Jonathan, but I know right now you guys are trading with the AI portion of this program, both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum's on a tear also. I think it's, what is it, 4,400 or 4,500 now, if I've got those numbers right. Can you explain to the audience how many data points they use, and can you give them an idea of what the average per annum returns are? And I know the returns, there's no guarantee on returns. Everybody knows that. I don't want to give that disclaimer. Mm-hmm. You have to look at it from this perspective. I just want to know historically, what have you guys done over the last couple of years over there at BlockTrustIRA?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of returns, we have beaten the buy and hold strategy by 45% for the past 3 years running. So our most successful model's beaten that by 45%, which is pretty staggering, because if you're looking at a buy and hold, if you're looking at a buy and hold strategy, you still would have made great money, but with a managed strategy, you would have really turbocharged it and done even better. In terms of, you know, what we're looking at, like I mentioned before, if you do a buy and hold strategy with crypto, which is a market that doesn't sleep, so I wouldn't recommend that. It's almost like throwing that brick of gold in a safe and forgetting about it. But with us, we're looking at so much data, millions and millions of data points. First of all, an asset like Bitcoin's traded globally, so we're looking at conversations in multiple languages, number one. We're looking at inflation data globally. We're looking at We're looking at things like on-chain metrics, and for people out there, on-chain metrics, what's that? So we're able to see who's purchasing on the market and who's selling. If everybody's running out the back door and trying to sell, then obviously we would want to make sure that we're taking our investors out of their position, putting them in cash on the sidelines. This is what we do. If we see volatility, we know it before the retail market knows it. So we move everybody into cash. We wait for that volatility to fly by us, and then we buy back in. And that does one of two things. One, it mitigates risk. It mitigates that drawdown, okay? And then number two, it does my favorite thing. It lets you buy back in at a cheaper price, so you get more tokens, and that's called compounding, and that's really how you financially get ahead. So we're looking at all these data points, investor sentiment, inflation, GDP growth, as a single person, and I used to be a trader. I used to work for Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley. It would take like 14 million of my brains just to look at one sector and make microsecond adjustments. But with AI, it's able to give us this trade signal, these trade datas, and we're able to give these signals to our top traders, and then they're able to make these decisions for people based on information. Because like I said, data is the new oil, and we live in a world where there's so much data. I mean, look at AI being used today. You have things like ChatGPT, you have self-driving cars, millions and millions of data points, and you need sophisticated programs to read, interpret it, digest it, and come back out with an answer that's going to be the right decision for you. So that's what we've done. We do it so well that Bitcoin Magazine voted us the #1 trading strategy globally for Bitcoin. We were up against 1,500 different fund managers, and some of these fund managers, Lance, I mean, these are billion-dollar funds, and we beat them all. And we're able to take these strategies that we also sell to hedge funds, our signals. So we take the same signals that the hedge funds are using, and we bring them down to the retail market so people can invest safely and securely, and then beat that traditional buy and hold strategy. And that's kind of some of the secret sauce and how we do it.
All right. BlockTrustIRA.com is the website, ladies and gentlemen. Before he goes, I have one quick question here, Lance. If I'm average Joe, and I don't know anything about this, but I know I want to work on my retirement, and I'm a neophyte. I don't really understand. We come to you, and what happens, Jonathan, just so people kind of understand?
Yeah, so they can go to BlockTrustIRA, and that's why I say before you do anything is get an education. That's the most important thing, because people have a lot of questions. How's this stored? Is there keys? There's new terminology that confuses people. So the first thing to do is to really just go to BlockTrustIRA.com. You can speak to a crypto specialist. Everything here is US based. That's something that also separates us, because if you invest with some of these platforms and you want to speak to someone, there's no one to speak to. And then if you do, you're going to an overseas call center, and that just sounds, scammy when you're speaking to someone in another country. So everything is US based. We kind of educate people and see where they're at right now. Do they have an IRA? Do they have a 401k? TSP plan? Is it just cash sitting in the market and they want exposure to cryptocurrency? So we kind of help them, make that transition either through a retirement account or just through cash accounts. And then we walk them through the whole process. It's very easy. They don't have to be a trader. They don't have to watch their accounts. It's just like a regular IRA that you would invest in the market or any other.
They don't have to be a rocket scientist and manage all their crypto wallets only to lose them somehow, that kind of stuff, right?
None of that. We do everything for them. There's no wallets. We have something called cold storage. We work with banks that become custodians, and we even have a $200 million insurance wrapper for our clients. So more importantly, military-grade encryption, and we make sure everything is safe and secure.
All right, Lance, you want to wrap it up for us, sir?
Well, listen, I think I think diversification is the safety net that every portfolio needs. And what I like about what Jonathan's done is this BlockTrustIRA.com. It's a product that people can trust. And having somebody in the driver's seat 24/7, 365 on something that you really don't necessarily completely understand, that is the solution, right? It takes that FOMO, that fear of missing out of the equation. It takes your emotions out of the equation. And when you can have experts work on your portfolio. And listen to that return. Beat buy and hold by 40+%. Think about the compounding of your money over a couple of years and being invested in a company like BlockTrustIRA. And the reason we're presenting it on the show is simply because we want you guys to have the information. It's all about educating and unifying the country. And if you have a company like BlockTrustIRA and you can find the experts, that's what it's all about. Because listen, there's a lot of competitors out there, but you guys want to know who the best companies are. And that's what I think about BlockTrustIRA.com and what Jonathan Rose has done. Well, we brought him here today for you guys.
Experts in the field available for you, ladies and gentlemen, to learn more. BlockTrustIRA.com. Jonathan, thank you so much, sir. We'll let you fly and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Jerry Springer Show stuff coming up. We'll tell you about it.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Freewater Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began, Freewater, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Freewater Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Freewater Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Freewater Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. This is Liberty Roundtable Live. I'm Sam Bushman, your host. I've got Lance Migliaccio, one of the big MIG brothers, with me. George Valentine taking care of the business world for us. I mean, he actually makes money while me and Lance sit around. TheBigMig.com is where you can learn more about their incredible shows. They're not only on Liberty Roundtable with me twice a month, but they do their own show called The Big Mig Show on Saturdays on your radio. So it's a weekend show. They also do weekday shows, the Big Mig Show. They also do a Crypto Power Hour. They do a bunch of stuff. To learn more about that, go to thebigmiggold.com and learn about that. Meanwhile, this is a weird deal. I don't even know how to respond to this. Headline says this: LA banned the N and C word from their city council meetings. Question is, does the First Amendment allow that? Asks USA Today. Then they say this: Los Angeles City Council meetings are being compared to the Jerry Springer Show. It is so crazy down there. They say a guy got up and spoke, and in the first 5 seconds, he used the N-word like 3 times. Now, they say that when they get mad at city council members, they call the men the N-words and they call the women the C-words. So you can't say the N or the C-word, and they say they'll kick you out if you do. And people are saying, wait, this is a slippery slope, violation of the First Amendment, da-da-da-da-da. Well, first off, I don't know what the N-word even is. I know that it's the slang word that you're not supposed to say. I get all that. But the black people are allowed to say it. I mean, otherwise, you got to pretty much get rid of the rap genre entirely. You just have to shut it all down. So, that's kind of strange. I don't like the term because I think it's derogatory. I don't like derogatory terms really against anybody for the most part, except I like to call people clowns because they remind me of that in the public sphere. I digress. Except for then the C word. I cannot imagine getting up with a microphone in front of a crowd and using the C word to describe people, really, though. It's just very strange stuff, Lance.
If you hadn't been the one telling me this story, I would have questioned whether or not it was legitimate. Look, I've been watching these city council meetings off and on. They pop up on social media, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff. Alex Stein's entered some of them. Other people have gone into them. But, listen, it's free speech. At the end of the day, if people are unhappy with the city council, I guess they should be able to say whatever they want to say. As far as the restriction of the N word and the C word, well, it doesn't surprise me that LA is the one to go down that road. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Newsom or Karen Bass. At the end, I just don't think it doesn't surprise me that that's the starting point for this. But is it going to be the starting point? Is it going to spread across the country? I wouldn't be surprised if it does.
And that's the problem. I'm not a fan of using those words personally. It's not the way I would describe people. I don't really understand what the N word or the C word has to do with anything in terms of, you're mad at somebody, you're frustrated, you don't believe they're doing right, you don't believe they're listening to you, you're really, really frustrated. I get it. There's got to be a better way. And I don't really believe that rules and laws and all that are the answer. I really don't. I just think God has, the 10 Commandments. And then he has the 2 great commandments, love the Lord thy God and love thy neighbor. So you got 12 guidelines from God. And really, if you obey those 12 guidelines, you really can't screw up very bad in society. You just can't. You're pretty self-governed. But yet we seem to have the gazillion commandments and the bazillion rules and all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't seem to help at all. It's just like, we got a Jerry Springer show down here. Why are people behaving that way? What's led to that? And the answer is I think government's just simply disenfranchised everybody. And everybody's losing it. Well, there's better answers, in my opinion, in the private sector. There's better answers. Maybe the city council hasn't been behaving to where it's like, hey, we're sick of it now. It's like you go to a kid's ball game and the parents end up in a brawl. It's that kind of stuff, Lance.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right, and it does happen. I mean, there's some crazy stuff. People come in costumes in those events, and I think they push the envelope, because of course there's also this problem with social media. People are out trying to find the next viral video, the next clickbait video. And that's really happened in a lot of these meetings. You've seen it. So is there a line in the sand where maybe they shouldn't be allowed to film in there? And maybe some of this stuff would naturally peter out? I don't know, because the filming is kind of taking it to a whole new level, because I've seen some really strange stuff going on in these meetings across the nation.
Now, I support the First Amendment entirely, and I don't really think you should control people's speech. However, there are rules of things that you can't say on the radio. And, you can say that's the start of the slippery slope. But I would kind of submit to some degree. I'm not saying we really need a law about this, but I think it's really important that people just stand their ground. We tried to kick religious views out of the public square for literally decades. And now we wonder when this happens. What if people had just general civility on their minds? What if, there was a way to really encourage that? I think there is. I think it's example. Start by example, lead by example. And for the city council members, be available for your constituents, though. I mean, at some point, you almost feel like saying that to Congress every day because you can't get a hold of anybody. And people think that kind of language will shake things up or whatever. But it just goes sideways. It backfires. Now all they're going to do is make a rule. And then basically now people are like, they're even listening to me less. Well, then what are you going to do? Make 2 rules, then 5 rules and 1,000 rules? Rules aren't the answer. The answer is to lead by example. The answer is to kind of de-escalate when this happens, right? If I'm a council member, I'm sitting on the pulpit and I have a microphone and somebody gets up and speaks and they start dropping F-bombs and C-bombs and, whatever, N-bombs. It's interesting. They didn't even bring up the F-bomb. Just the N and the C-bombs. But I would basically interrupt the person. I'd say, listen, sir, stop. I need you to at least speak respectfully. There's women and children in this room, and I expect you to be decent in your speech. I can't stop you from speaking at this pulpit, but I can certainly tune you out. And I'm not going to listen to you if you're going to behave that way. If you're going to behave decent, proper, civil-like, I'll be glad to listen to your complaints, and I'll be glad to talk to you about them after the meeting or during the meeting. I think there's ways that this could be dealt with leadership, Lance, with example.
You know, it's interesting. I've seen some people try to handle some of those meetings like that, and they haven't really had a high level of success because the people that are coming in to present whatever issue they want to discuss, they seem to have an agenda that they don't waver from. So I have some people say, hey, listen, can you tone down the profanity? We've got women and children in the room. They just go on.
And then I'll just get up and walk out if I'm the council member. I'll just get up and leave.
Yeah. And that might very well, I think at the end of the day, that might very well be the right solution.
If you won't listen to me, we're just going to leave. If you want to have a decent, polite, appropriate meeting, I'm here to listen. But if you're going to be like this, we're not. Because the next question is, what if people start punching people? Well, no, Sam, that's assault. You'll get arrested. Okay, but I'm just saying, what do we do to prevent going to the next level? Pretty soon, it's like if somebody gets hit every city council meeting, pretty soon no one will even call the cops at the city council meeting. Oh, you go there, you get punched, so what? Who cares? I mean, that's where we're headed. And so I'd just simply say, look, I'm not willing to listen to you. I'm tuning you out if you speak like this. And if you keep it up too long, I'm simply leaving.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, that would be my solution, but it's crazy.
Yeah, it is a crazy topic. I think we're going to see more of it. I won't be surprised if there's no end in sight for this because, again, I think the social media contingents kind of changed the whole perspective of what people are trying to accomplish.
Well, no one seems to be listening, but here's the question. Is the Jeffrey Epstein issue dead? Trump wants it to be dead. No one knows how to deal with it. Congress says they're going to keep it up. Thomas Massey's the one kind of leading the charge. I don't know if it's dead or not. Donald thinks it's a non-issue and it's dead. Now there's news media coming out saying, oh, yeah, there's a whole lot less searches about it. Nobody cares anymore. It's over. I'm convinced they might claim that, and they may even be able to force that at this point. At the end of the day, though, it's just going to be another notch in the case of they never listened to us. And pretty soon you're going to see frustration spill over. Maybe not just Jerry Springer in words, but it's going to get crazy physically and everything else, too. I don't want that. I'm against it. I'm just telling you that's where we're headed when they continue to ignore us at every level, Lance.
You're not supposed to talk about Epstein.
See, that's the deal. And I'm telling you, that's ticking people right off.
Of course, I'm being smart alecky, but, we've been talking about Epstein nonstop on our show. But that is the agenda, right? The indignation. Don't talk about Epstein. What? You guys are still talking about Epstein? Listen, I voted for transparency, accountability, and consequences. That's what I thought I voted for. At the end of the day, Epstein's part of that. And no, I don't believe Epstein's going to go away. But I do have to admit that the technique they're using, the redirection, David Copperfield, look over here while I make the elephant disappear over here, is working. I mean, they've been loading the news cycle up with stuff that is not Jeffrey Epstein. And, that seems to be their counter.
Yeah, they love to talk about Bill Clinton, but he's not arrested either.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I think. I think that's a lot of it. I think we're seeing they've done an amazing job of making us look in the other direction. I hope Epstein's not dead. Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a camp, which would make me believe that's part of a negotiation for some kind of a 5K1 downward departure or some kind of a cooperation deal. That she was not in the camp, but she was at a higher level of security in the BOP. But I don't know if that's what it means. It may just mean that's what they gave her for the information they gave so far.
Well, Sydney Sweeney didn't use the N-word or the C-word.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No kidding.
She just said she had good genes, and that went crazy. Do we got to ban the G-word or the J-word?
Might have to. Can't say genes. Can't say Epstein.
How about the God family country? Is the G word God?
Nope. Can't say that. Can't say that
wow.
Either.
See, it's insane, ladies and gentlemen, and it's got to stop. Self-governance is the key to solutions. The proper role of limited government is the answer. Lance Miliaccio, thebigmig.com. Thank you so much, sir. Liberty Roundtable Live, syndicated by the Loving Liberty and Liberty News Radio Networks, lovingliberty.net. LibertyNewsRadio.com, LibertyRoundtable.com. We got a bunch of websites, man. TheBigMigGold.com. God save the Republic of the United States of America.